the way Windows works. It is very important for you to know that Windows is the only operating system that uses the approach of a registry. All other operating systems, the iOS, the Mac OS, the Android, the Linux environment, none of them use the registry as a way of configuring the operating system and modifying the operating system behavior. All other operating systems use text files. As a matter of fact, you all are very familiar with text files because you learned to use a phenomenally, incredibly profound application called Notepad. Yes?
Yes.
Wasn't that exciting? I mean, what was more exciting than coming to Winter Park to learn the Notepad? And it saves all files as what extension?
TXT.
Did you know that you cannot see a TXT file in Linux? In other words, if you use Notepad and you save a file, it will save it with what? True?
Yes.
But if you go to Linux, you cannot see those files. Those are system files. Those are the very files that they use to configure the network card, the behavior of the firewall, the behavior of the operating system, the GUI interface, and all the configuration of a Linux environment is basically ASCII text files. And so they hide them. In fact, if you take Linux and boot up and go to your flash drive where you've got a Notepad file, you can't see it. Because Linux doesn't want you to see system files. So most operating systems use the idea of a text file for configuring everything. Your video card, your network properties, your TCP/IP, your firewall, everything in that operating system is configured via a text file. And so generally in the world of Linux and many other operating systems, ASCII text files are hidden from view because they're critical configuration files. Microsoft decided to go way far away from that and build what's called a registry. Does exactly the same thing, but you'll see that the registry provides a central repository of all configuration. So let's talk about where I would like to get you. We're going to be doing a lab, and by the time you finish this lecture series and you do the lab, you should be at about a level 3. You should be able to understand the Windows registry and its file structure, understand restore points, and how to configure that utility's behavior. That is a very important skill. And understand the techniques of other techniques of registry backup and recovery. So today we're going to focus on some of these elements, but ultimately we want to get you to a level 3. All right, so let's get going. What is the Windows registry? The Windows registry is a complex hierarchical database that stores all of your configuration settings and options of the Microsoft Windows operating system. In Linux, we do it with text files. In the Windows environment, we do it with the registry. It is a database designed for fast reads and writes and very efficient storage. If you go look at your registry, it typically is around between 15 megabytes and 20 megabytes. It is always loaded into RAM. There's never a time that the registry is not in memory. So if your registry is large, what happens to the room for all other applications to run? What's going to happen to the performance of your operating system? So one of the things that right out of the base is designed for efficiency. It stores lots of information in a very small file. It's also designed for extremely fast reads and writes. I'm actually going to demo. We're actually going to look at a utility that will allow us to see the operating system read the registry. It's going to blow your mind. Some of you are thinking, well, the registry is this file and memory, and we're not sure what it does. What you don't realize is if you could look at a heat map of the operating system that indicates what's red hot and active, it would be the what?
Registry.
The registry is like red hot because everybody is reading and writing that file, okay, or those files. So it is always in RAM. There are what is known as hives, and we'll get into that. The registry is stored on the hard drive, and anytime we store a registry portion on the hard drive, it's called a hive. We'll get into that in a minute. The registry contains two basic elements, keys and values. Now, listen to me carefully. In defining what a registry key is, it's called a container object, and it is similar, notice I'm using the word similar, but not a what? Folder. It's similar. In fact, with the registry editor, it will look like a folder, but please be aware, this is not equal to a, it's what?
Similar.
It's similar. It helps you understand it. So keys are container objects. Registry values are like files. So bottom line, the registry is full of keys, and those keys are full of values, okay? There are 5 root keys. You need to know and understand all 5 root keys. The most important key, and I want you to take your pen and circle the abbreviation. You need to know those abbreviations. Because in your literature, when you're looking up technical documentation, they are going to use the abbreviation a lot. They're going to expect you to know that HKLM is H key local machine key. This is the most critical registry key of all. That is the abbreviation HKLM, and that stands for H key local machine. Inside that registry key are 7 subkeys. It includes the SAM, that is the file that a hacker wants. If I hack your machine, that one key is what I want because that contains all usernames, passwords, groups, and security descriptors. So if I'm going to hack your machine, I'm going to grab your SAM, and I'm going to show you where your SAM is. There's also a key called security. This is not accessible by you unless you're an administrator. The next one is called system, and this is what you boot. This is part of your boot process. So notice over here, we see under H key local machine, I see the SAM, I see security, and I see system. Another key, subkey is called software. When you install your software, your pirated software, your freeware, it is modifying this subkey. Okay? So this is a subkey that is used for all software installed. And this is very extensive. And notice there is the software subkey in the H key local machine key. Then we have one called components. And then notice this one. Have you ever heard me talk about bcd.dat? Has anyone ever heard me talk about that?
Yes.
Okay. Is that critical for boot?
Yes.
And where is that file? Where do we find that file? It's in the system what?
Partition.
It's in the system partition. Remember, we have a boot partition and a system partition. So the bcd.dat is now a critical registry file. It is loaded into the registry. As the registry loads, all these files are loaded into RAM, and they make up what we know as H key local machine. There are 7 subkeys. This one right here is very critical. This contains all the passwords. They're not stored in clear text. They're stored as hashes. But it doesn't take much to crack that file. Okay? There are like 6,000 variations of crackers that will crack this file, okay? So if you're thinking it's real secure, think again. So remember, what's the most important concept of security? If I can touch your box, if I can physically touch your PC, how much security does it have?
Zero.
None. Okay? So the first element of security, if I can reach your PC, I can break into it. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. So first element of all security is you can't reach it. That's why data centers have guards, dogs, minefields, okay? Pepper spray. It's not like you walk up to a data center and, hey, I'm from Winter Park Tech, I'd just like to take a tour. Okay? You're gonna be ushered to your car and they're gonna watch you drive away, yes? You're not gonna get in there. HKey current config. This is information gathered at runtime. This key is never permanently stored on your disk. In other words, as you boot up, your BIOS begins to collect information about your hardware. It passes it on to the kernel as it's beginning to load. You run plug and play enumeration. It begins to discover all your hardware, drivers, load drivers. This key is built on the fly every time you boot. HKey class roots is really not used a lot today. It's still kept there primarily for backward compatibility. Notice the extension, folks. You need to know these extensions. You will see them on a test. I will be asking you what are the acronyms for these keys. Because in literature, your technical literature, they're going to be using these. And they're expecting you to know them. HKey current user. This is very important. This is you. When you log on, it goes get your Hive, and I'll explain what Hives are in a minute. Get your Hive, puts it in memory so that you have all of your registry data in RAM at the time you log on. So HKey current user is you. Now, what if Jose logs on, does a switch user, yes, switch user, and then Shelton logs on to the same computer? How many people do we have logged on now? Two. How do we deal with that? We deal with that with HKey users. So if there are more than one user logged on, we're going to store all of that information in HKey users. You don't really, generally HKey users is just a mirror of current HKey current user because there's only one person logged on. But remember, on a server, listen, on a server, I can set up my server so that hundreds of people can log on at the same time. So then this key becomes real important. All right, so what in the world is in a registry? There it is. Binary data, unsigned integers, symbolic links, multi-string values, resource list, resource descriptors, 64-bit integers. Now, already you're so excited, you can hardly stand it. You can't wait when I stop to rush out to go look at this. The whole idea of looking at 64-bit integers is almost more than you can stand. Yes? Yes. So, if I can't sleep at night, I'm tossing and turning, I will then open my registry and start reading, yes? Because that looks like, that is so engaging. No pictures. Yes. Okay, you'll be asleep in 3 seconds. Okay? No pictures, no moving, no animation, just that kind of data. So the registry includes ASCII text, Unicode, and this is a worldwide standard. And Unicode allows us to store multiple languages from almost every country that has a written language. So Unicode is always used in operating systems because it allows us to store Arabic, Hebrew, English, Slavic languages, any kind of language that has a written form. So, registries look very, very exciting, yes? I mean, I can't hardly wait to go leave this lecture and run and look at my registry. Let's go take a look, because I know you don't believe me. You're just saying, I bet he's pulling my leg. And it is so cool. It's better than YouTube. I mean, Netflix doesn't hold up a candle to the incredible, look at that. Isn't that rich?
Wow.
I mean, that is just absolutely amazing stuff. So your registry contains very critical information about the kernel. Everybody is accessing. I can't emphasize this enough. We're going to run performance monitor in a minute. And you're going to see that all the software on your machine, your actual kernel operating system, drivers, everybody is pounding the registry. It's amazing. They're constantly reading and writing these files. So all of this information is stored in this database in RAM, and everybody is looking and reading and writing and accessing the registry. That's kind of scary when you think about it. So if all these people are hammering it, is there a chance that this thing could go belly up? Yeah, there's a really good chance. In fact, some of you have experienced that love. Okay? You rebooted your computer and it came up with some lovely message like corrupted registry or missing some registry file, and you were so pumped. Just the thought of having a corrupted registry was exciting. Now, where are your registry files stored on your hard drive? Now listen carefully. Anytime I take a registry file and I save it to the hard drive, it is called a what? Hive. Why, Mr. Vanderpool? I don't have a clue. Nobody knows. Okay? But whenever you see literature, they're going to talk about registry hives. They're talking about registry pieces of the database saved as a file on the hard drive. There they are. Those are mainly components of HKey local machine. If you'll notice, go back up and look at your HKey local machine. Grab your notes, go back and look. There's components. That's a hive. Look at your HKey local machine. There's your what? What's this? SAM. That's the file I want if I'm a what? Hacker. I want your SAM file. So now you know, look, you must know where your hives are. Your main HKey local machine is in Windows.
System 32 configuration.
You should know when you see that path, Windows System 32 config, the contents inside there are your registry hives. Listen, you're going to have boot problems where that's what's going to be on the screen. It's going to say, here's the path. It'll say, missing file. You should recognize that path. Oh, that's where my registry hives are. You must know this. If I say, let's go to your registry, I don't want you to be looking at me like, what? You should know. Windows, System 32, config. That's where my registry is. Yes?
Yes.
These are all of these are primarily your HKey local machine subkeys. So you've got security, software, system, SAM, components, another critical file, which all of you know by heart, which is your bcd.dat. Yes?
Yes.
Where is that file?
Partition?
Let's go File Explorer. Actually, you can't. Yeah, you can. If I go to the System Reserve, the System Partition, and I go into the boot directory, everybody with? Yes?
Yes.
and I scroll through all the various languages of the earth, I will see my what? Yes, my registry file. So that's the bcd.dat. So that's one hive of your registry. So one hive over there in the system partition. Now there's one more hive I want you to get to know. Every one of you, when you log on, create a hive. So watch where I'm going. Stay with me. Windows. Everybody see where I'm at? Whose files and folders are saved in that location? Everybody who logs on. And you're saved by your log on username, yes? So there's Mr. V. If we open up his, this is known as a profile, and you must know this. This C:\users is where all users' profiles are saved. And if I scroll down into the root of my profile is a very important hive. This is your registry file. You know what happens, and you know that I would never do this. That there's no evilness in my heart. But when we start doing troubleshooting, you wouldn't think that I would ever go and delete that, would you? What do you think is going to happen when you try to log on and Windows says, oh, I see his folder, but I don't see his registry key. You think Windows is going to be happy with you? Windows is not going to be happy with you, but you are going to know how to fix this. Yes. Yes. That is in every single user who logs on. A profile is created. In the root of your profile is the mtuser.dat. That is your hive. When you log on, that is added to the registry, and that is why you get all the stuff that you expect. You always get your wallpaper. You get your screensaver. You get all the things that you expect when you log on. The registry key that makes that magic happen is that hive, okay? So when Shelton logs on to my computer, he doesn't see my wallpaper, does he? No, he sees his funky wallpaper, right? So Shelton has his own registry hive, and depending on who logs on, that's the graphical user interface that they get. So remember, mtuser.dat is where your user hive is stored. So we have, right now we've learned 3 locations for hives. Yes?
Yes.
You all know them. Because you know I'm going after them, right? So if I delete your bcd.dat, you're not looking in the config folder, yes?
Yes.
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 Okay. So who in the world uses the registry? Just about everybody. All your applications, your user interface, the SAM, all the services, device drivers, the kernel, everybody uses. Let's go take a look at your registry in action. Go ahead and pause the, I found that faster than I thought. System Internals is a suite of tools that Mark Persunovich and another gentleman wrote, and they allow us to see things that normally are not easy to see. I'm going to be using a tool called Process Monitor. Take a look. I've highlighted it. This is a very powerful tool. It is very similar to another tool that you are going to learn for network called Wireshark. Process Monitor allows us to look at all the activity of the operating system. So we're going to fire it up, we're going to take a look, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter out all the activity, and I'm just going to say, I just want to see the registry, okay? So I'm going to crank it up. Oh, by the way, if you'll Now, if you'll notice at the bottom, I know, if you'll take the video and focus on the bottom part of this. If you'll notice, I'm not doing a whole lot with my Windows 8 box, am I? I've got Word, open, yes. Would you look at how many events are happening? Is Windows busy is what I'm asking you?
Yes.
Windows is busy. Although I only have Word up here and it doesn't look like I'm doing a whole lot, I'm here to tell you it's cranking. Yes?
Yes.
It's cranking. Now up here, I can start filtering out, and I'm going to filter out, and I'm going to show you registry events. So I'm going to say, I don't want to see those. I don't want to see network, and I don't want to see file access. So we're looking at just everything in the Windows 8 system that is accessing the registry real time. So what do you think? The registry's kind of doing this, yeah? No, it's very, very busy. It is cranky. And that's exactly what's happening to your registry all the time. Applications, kernels, drivers, software, everybody is hammering, reading and writing, and you can look, it's very complicated. The registry is the database that is the heart of Windows operating system. If the registry is not working or not functioning or corrupted or missing elements, you are going to have a mess. So, do we want our registry to work?
Yes.
Yes. So, who does not use the Windows registry? I bet you didn't know this.
Someone who's not on the computer.
Let me ask you this. If no one's logged on, do you think the registry is busy?
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. So .NET Framework applications use XML files for their configuration. They do not use the registry. That is listen, star that. You need to know that. You need to know that .NET applications are not using the registry. They use XML files for their configuration. That is the same kind of thing that other operating systems do. Another thing is when you download those portableapps.com, yes?
Yes.
You get a whole flash drive full of apps that you're never going to use ever in your whole life. They do not use the what?
The registry.
They usually keep their configuration data within the folder directory where the application executes, which is generally your what?
Flash drive.
So those are some things that run in Windows that generally do not use the registry. What are the approved tools to modify the registry? That is the one tool that Microsoft does not want users to use. What are the tools that Microsoft allows you to use to modify the registry? Control panel. Write it on your notes. Control panel is where all your tools are at, where you can safely modify your registry. Think about it. What do those tools do in Control Panel? They modify and configure things, don't they? Those applets, all of those applets are safe ways of editing your registry. They are the only Microsoft approved tools to edit your registry. So when I go in and I change language, I'm changing what? Registry. So all these things are simply modifying your registry, and Microsoft allows you to use your control panel. And listen, when I send out a box to the enterprise, what is one area I don't allow users to mess with? Does anyone know what I hide from users when I take a box and I put it out in my enterprise? What do I hide from users?
Control.
I don't want them in it. Even though it's safe and it's approved, do I want them changing?